So now I'm going to talk about validation for the next 10 minutes. Validation is the grease on the wheel of change. Parents have a hard time wanting to validate their kids because they're concerned about the smoke, not the fire. They're concerned with the school truancy. They're concerned with the drug use. They're concerned with the scars they're going to have for self-harming. When the problem or the fire is their emotions. It's an emotional problem that needs an emotional solution. Their kid is crystal clear that they don't like those behaviors. Their kid is not confused about where they stand on those behaviors. They're not confused at all that the parents don't like it. And we need the parents to notice that their kids already know that. And the way to get them willing to change is through validation. And what we'll teach parents a lot of the time is that it's a 5-to-1 ratio. We have to surround any invalidation or any redirection or any consequencing or those kinds of things with 5 forms of validation, right? So it's saying, you did a really great job picking up your toys in the room. Thank you for doing that. Oh, look, you missed your socks and your clothes over there. Can you get those? Boy, I really like what you've done in here. I just created sort of a sandwich. Validation, direction, validation again on the end. Okay? So validation is the grease on the wheel of change. So any of you who are mechanical at all know how important grease it is in the running of any machinery, right? You have to have it in order for it to be effective and run. So I can't overemphasize the importance of validation in therapy, especially in DBT. So even in difficult situations or with very problematic behavior, there's something to valid. There's something valid or there's something to validate. There's always something valid. Okay? So our targets for validation are feelings or emotions. I can imagine someone who's been through what you've been through would be really sad, right? Or you look really sad. Or, man, I would be so sad if that happened to me. Okay? So we always can validate primary emotion. We get to validate that they want something. This is hard for parents. It's okay that they want to stay out all night for prom. They get to want that, right? You get to say no to it, but they get to want it, right? So I get to validate that, yeah, it makes sense. I probably wanted to stay out all night when I was 17 too. That sounded amazing, right? They get to want things, even if they can't have them. They get to have their own beliefs, opinions, and thoughts about something. Okay? They get to believe strawberry ice cream is the best when in your family it's a well-held truth that chocolate ice cream is the best, right? They get to have, their experience gets to be different from your experience. We get to validate how difficult something is for them, right? Just because it's easy for me to manage my emotions the majority of the time doesn't mean that it's not valid that it's hard for somebody else to regulate their emotions for periods of time. We get to validate efforts and approximations. I noticed how hard you tried to walk away from that fight. I noticed how hard you tried. You didn't quite make it, but I could see you were really trying to avoid it and to walk away from it. Okay? We get to validate, of course, any effective behavior that we see. And that's job 1 for coaches in our environment, and it's job 1 for parents. Our attention is like currency. We only have so much of it, right? And when it's gone, right? And so I have to be smart about how I'm going to use my attention, because whatever I pay the most attention to is what I'm going to see more of, right? So the more I pay attention to the smoke, I'm going to see lots of smoke, right? The more I say, good job. I noticed that you were getting kind of upset when that person was saying that to you. Good job managing that. Good job not acting on those urges, right? So I have to be specifically catching them doing something I like, even if it's only happening for a fleeting moment. The only way I'm going to see it for a longer moment is if I catch it and I validate it and say, good job. Okay? In other words, anything that's valid makes sense and is understandable is something that you want to validate. Okay? So problem management, really quickly, I love this part. When I work with clients and they come to me with a problem, I say we have 5 choices. We can accept the problem and how we feel about it. We can change the problem if we have control over it. We can problem and change how we feel about it. We can stay in misery, or we can make the problem worse, right? So it just puts a nice structure around problem solving. So it's like, do we have control of this problem? Is it that my radio doesn't work and I get to go buy a new one and solve the problem? Or is it that I don't like someone else's behavior, which, by the way, I'm not the boss of, right? So if I don't have control of the problem, I don't get to solve it. So that one goes away if it's not something I have control over. And then my other choices are I can accept the problem and accept that I don't like it, right? I can accept the problem and change how I feel about it by being less judgmental about it. I can stay in misery, which I don't recommend, and I can always make it worse, which I also don't recommend. So it sort of helps put things into a perspective, a manageable perspective, when you're problem solving with your patients. So treatment interfering behavior management, you guys will have to just be referring to this, and we don't have very much time left. But the behaviors that are treatment interfering are escaping and avoiding, talking about the primary targets. It looks like escalation and dysregulation. We can block it. We can redirect it. We can always just bring it back to primary emotion. Using contingency management. Like I'll say to a kid, I know this is really hard for you to talk about, and we're only going to talk about it for 5 minutes. And then after 5 minutes, we get to go do something you want. We can go to the gym, we can go get a Coke, we can, whatever you want to do. But for 5 minutes, we're going to talk about this. And relief is built into that. Problem solving with dysfunctional behavior is what we've been talking about this whole time. And just understanding the many functions of attention. What I pay attention to is what I'm going to see more of. As a parent, as a clinician, as a friend. And then that 5-to-1 ratio for shaping. Okay, I need to have 5 validations, 5 positive things to say to every one thing I want to redirect or talk about that's ineffective. I literally have to wrap that in validation. Thank you for being such a great audience.